Alright, what's up you guys? This is Devin from CenturyFX Studios and we're back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about a response that I got on my video about kit lenses, and I'm just going to reply to that in this video. Now, I might sound a little nasally, I might sound a little congested because I am. I'm coming over some allergies, this is the allergy season. I can't deal with it, but it's better than it was at the beginning of the week. And so we're going to get right into this comment. Kit lenses come with entry-level cameras for entry-level people. Hang around the camera shop and talk to the other photographers. So I'm just going to break this down sentence by sentence and let's get right into it. Now, when you first read this comment, you see a lot of the word entry-level being used in this comment. Now, we use entry level loosely when we're talking about camera and camera equipment and the people who hold this camera equipment. We use entry level a lot, whether it's in reference to the actual gear or the person. But I think this is a hindrance to a lot of people who are coming into the DSLR game or coming into the camera game or the full frame, whatever you're buying, because DSLRs are cameras that provide you two main things: control and the ability to have better image quality. Now, whether you use this control decides whether you're going to get that image quality. DSLRs are designed for people who want to get more information from photography, who want to dive into photography more, not just point and shoot. These are not point and shoot cameras. These are digital single lens reflex cameras, which means you can interchange the lenses because of the mirror that's inside and all these other things. You can do so much more with this camera. When you are marketing this camera to the public, they say entry level, they say intermediate, they say pro and all this other stuff. But I've seen people who are just people who have money, who buy 5Ds all the time. And I don't have a 5D. I can't wait to get the 5D that comes out that has everything that I want in it. Now, the 5D Mark IV is close, but there are people who are just entry level, as you say, but just have money to get a big camera and they'll just get it. Does that make them entry level, or does that make that camera entry level, or does that make they have a 24 to 105 kit lens, or they'll have a 24 to 70? All they have to do is a little bit of research to understand that the 24 to 70 is going to be a better lens. Matter of fact, all they have to do is use their deductive reasoning and say, okay, well, if this lens costs $100 and the other lens costs $500, that $500 lens is probably going to be my better bet for better image quality because they spent so much money to make it. And that's just basic common sense. This whole term of entry level, it compartmentalizes people and classifies people into this little box. This little box makes people look ignorant to what they're purchasing, and that's kind of a contradiction when it comes to buying a DSLR. A DSLR has so many buttons and so many different modes that if you invest money in it, you want to be able to use it. So the first thing you're going to do is try to get some knowledge on it. You're going to buy it. You're going to buy it with the intention to get better image quality, to go to manual mode, AV, TV, maybe learn it from somebody. Now, some people do get DSLRs and just shoot them in auto, but I think more often than not, people are going to be using it in different modes to get a better look out of it, because most people are coming from iPhones, Androids, but these iPhones have a whole bunch of different features that allow you to get better image quality. So if somebody buys a DSLR with the intention of getting better image quality out of it, they're going to try to get better image quality from their cell phones. So if they're not getting it, they're going to be on the hunt for knowledge or just sell their DSLR in the long run, because you don't want a $500 paperweight sitting around not doing anything for you. So, like I said, this part of the comment where it says entry level, and it says entry level throughout the first part of this comment, it kind of weighs in on the manufacturer's reason to sell your product. Now, when the manufacturers sell your product, they want you to know exactly what you're getting before you get it. If it's pro, they want to lean heavy on that. Oh, this is a pro camera. This is for the pros. Pros do this. Pros need this. Pros do that. Like, for example, the 5D Mark IV. They'll say, oh, this is a pro camera, rated with the best 4K, best bit rate 4K, best looking files. This goes back to the 5D Mark II with our revolutionary video quality. They're going to sell you that camera Now, when you get the 5D Mark IV in your hands, it's a totally different thing. Whether it's entry level or this, that, and the other, whatever they said in the advertisement may not line up to what you might think it is when you get it in your hands. For example, when you get the 5D Mark IV, they advertise the mess out of the 4K for the 5D Mark IV. But when you get that in your hands, you realize that it has motion JPEG and all these other things. What the advertisers want you to believe is not what you actually get in your hand. Now, if you get an entry-level camera, entry-level for Canon is a loaded question or a loaded response or a loaded, reply to give to somebody. Because if somebody asks you, oh, well, what kind of camera should I get, or what should I have as far as entry-level for Canon? Well, you got the T series, the T1i, 2i, 3i, 4i, the Rebel series. You also have the SO1 series, and then you have that new 1000, 2000, 3000, 4000 series that they give you. Then you have the 70D, the double digit D series, and then you have the 70 series. All of these come with these entry level lenses that you say in your comment, whereas I don't think a lot of these cameras are entry level, but they all fall under that little entry level banner that Canon or Nikon or whatever manufacturer that you're buying from will spout to you in the advertisement, so they'll let you know that you're in a lower tier camera. So DSLRs are like the golden camera because of their ability to upgrade from practically nothing. I could have a T5 or a T6 or whatever the most base camera that Canon has, and I can put a 50mm 1.2 on there if I wanted to, and I could get full frame image quality out of it at the wider apertures like 1.8 and 2.0 and 2.8, and that will constitute the sensor size and pretty much the image quality of almost all of the entry level cameras that are in that range, even competing with full frame cameras like the 5D Mark II and the 5D Mark III, depending on what situation you're in and how you're able to get that image off. Now, with all that being said, the DSLRs are the most flexible cameras, not only with lenses, but with lens cost. So when you think about all these different aspects of what you're buying, why you're buying it, well, entry level kit, it just puts a monkey wrench in the actual comment itself. It's just a short-sighted comment just to say something, I think. So like I said, the word entry level is really, really boxing people in. Entry level cameras for entry level people. That word or that phrase, entry level people, really gets under my skin as an educator on YouTube. So I'm not the most perfect photographer in the world. I don't claim to be the best photographer in the world. But when you say entry-level people, that kind of boxes people in as well. People tend to not search past that. They'll be like, oh, this is pro, I'm not ready for that. Or this is intermediate, I'm not ready for that. Well, you can accelerate your learning or your education in photography as fast as you want to. With the new invention called an iPhone, it has skewed what entry level is for everybody. So many people have the access to a grid on their phone that gives you the rule of thirds. So many people have access to HDR, high dynamic range. People probably have done research on this. People know how to back up and zoom in now with this invention of the portrait mode in iPhones. So the iPhone will tell you how to get good portrait quality based off of its new lens, its new shallow depth of field feature that it has in there now. So you're now understanding how to get compression. You're understanding what your distances are. So there's a whole bunch of information that skew the lines of entry level as it was even 10 years ago. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you didn't really have iPhones out like that. You didn't have the strong iPhone game that we have now. You didn't have that. You definitely didn't have that. So a lot of people didn't have this. You could peg an entry-level photographer. You could say, oh, this guy is beginner. This guy knows this much, and he probably doesn't know about rule of thirds, or he probably doesn't know about shallow depth of field, or the inverse square law, or he doesn't know about f-stops, or he doesn't know how to expose the exposure triangle. He doesn't know anything about that, or she doesn't know anything about that. He probably doesn't know anything about strobing or speed lights or anything like that. So there's a whole bunch of skewed knowledge when it comes to entry level. You can't just peg them. Now, the advertisers might think, oh, well, you guys just came from cell phones, so you don't know anything about aperture, shutter speed, ISO, or composition, or framing, or HDR, or anything like that. Well, no, it's different now. The software has made it so you can learn anything that you want to. YouTube has made it so you can learn anything you want to about video mode, so this entry level mindset, we need to stop that. Now, advertisers, you understand what they talk about when they send it to you. Now, we say it a lot, and it's not going to go away, this term entry level. But when advertisers advertise to you, you have to understand the difference, and don't get yourself caged up, especially if you're a new photographer. This leads to people thinking that you don't have potential. The better word, starter lens, because when people think start, they think of a finishing goal. They don't think of staying at the starting line, like the rabbit in the hare, the tortoise in the hare. They don't think about staying at that starting line for long at all. As a matter of fact, if you had a kit lens, after your first, I would say 5 events, you can probably get a step up kit lens, like what does Canon have now? I think they have an 18 to 55 2.8. Now it's a little bit more expensive, but use that first 5 gigs, the money that you get, and upgrade. It probably would be worth the amount of the first 5 gigs, depending on whether they're weddings or proms or whatever you're doing this season. But in my opinion, this whole entry-level people terminology, I don't like it, and it gets people to thinking like the advertisers want them to think. The advertisers want you to think you're entry level, so you buy this for this for this. Well, if you want to do sports photography, you probably be better off with a 7D Mark II. Well, that 7D Mark II is not an entry-level camera in the least, but you're probably willing to understand and learn that 45-62 focus point system with the various focusing modes from the 1DX series. You're probably willing to learn that. So you probably be, in the long run, better off getting a 7D Mark II than a T6i or an 80D. Why? Because that focus system is always going to keep things tight. That 10 frames a second is always going to keep you wanting more. And this camera has an auto mode. So it's not like, oh, he's too entry level to learn this. Well, you can put it on auto mode and get something decent out of that camera. If you do just the smallest amount of research, you can get so far on these DSLRs. And research is put in your lap by YouTube. It's free. Now, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, this comment probably would have stood the test of time. But as it relates to right now, it's really out of date. It's really short-sighted in my opinion. I'm not trying to offend this person. What is it? Gamer 2572. I'm not trying to offend you in the least. I'm just trying to say the reason I made that video about kit lenses was to get people to think about the potential of where they can go, and not necessarily box themselves in and what the manufacturers want you to think and what the manufacturers want you to buy. The last part of this comment is probably my favorite part, and it says, hang around camera shops and talk to the other photographers. Wow. That is a loaded it's loaded. That's a loaded response, because when you go to the camera shop, which camera shops are not around as much as they used to be, you probably be better off going to a Best Buy to buy a camera at this point. But specialized camera stores that just sell camera equipment and prints and all this stuff, hard to find. You'd be better off going to a Best Buy or a Target or something like that, because they have probably a wider selection of cameras, that are new, and then all this other stuff. But they probably don't have a lot either. But at the end of the day, the people that you see in the camera store are 9 times out of 10 biased. And you're like, what? Camera store people biased? Why would they be biased? Well, think about the camera industry and everything that you buy as far as being a photographer is concerned. You buy cameras for video. Video is expensive. Lighting is expensive. Lenses are expensive, and cameras are expensive. A good camera, a decent camera today, you're looking at $1,500, and that's around 80D quality. That gives you pretty much everything that you want, all inclusive, without you having to worry about a lot. You're looking at 80D prices, GH4 prices, GH5 prices, $2,000. That'll get you a really nice camera that is flexible in a lot of ways. That's typically the sweet spot, especially the A7 III. I gotta say that camera, because that's a full frame camera with a lot of stuff to give you. But at the end of the day, when you have to purchase things that are at least $2,000, you are going to be biased. If you spend your hard-earned money, blood, sweat, and tears money that you got at work, and you spend it on a brand called Canon, and Canon gives you everything, your color science, your low light images that you want, you get everything, your video, your dual pixel autofocus. You're like, oh, Canon is the best. Canon will give me anything. Everybody buy Canon. I want you to buy Canon. Canon's gonna fit you in some kind of way. Why? Because Canon has an amalgam of cameras. They have so many cameras and so many lenses to choose from. It's hard not to go with Canon. But a Canon user like me wouldn't come up to you and say, oh, well, Canon's kind of lacking in the dynamic range department. Well, Canon might be lacking in the 4K department if you're getting a camera under $2,000. Or Canon may have a flip out screen, but Canon doesn't give you a lot of vlogs. Even though Canon has, cinema cameras, they won't give you a lot of cinema features in their DSLRs if you want to go pictures and video at the same time. Even though Canon used to be the mecca of media, they're not necessarily the mecca of media for the industry as far as, new people coming to the camera industry. So people won't want to tell you this. So if I'm a Nikon user, I'm not going to come up to you and say, oh yeah, no, Nikon sucks, man. I've been using Nikon for 45 years and I never wanted to change. There's a lot of biased people, and because you're going to stay with Nikon lenses. Nikon lenses cost a lot of money. Canon lenses cost a buttload of money. So if you're sitting there in a camera store, you're going to get a lot of biased people. Not only from the people who are in the camera store, but the camera sellers themselves. So I don't think that this is a well thought out comment at the end of the day, because you have YouTube, you have Google, and if I'm paying a lot of money for a camera and I don't have a lot of money to spend, but I want to get into photography, I'm probably going to spend around $1.5 to $2,000. Well, there's a lot of things that you're going to be like, I need to do research before I buy this. Well, if a 70 to 200 costs $2,000, why am I not doing research on this camera? So there's a lot of reasons, guys, why people do research, and this short-sighted comment kind of, I think, gives a middle finger to everybody who just haphazardly buys cameras based off of what the manufacturers tell them to. Like those Amazon gift baskets that they get, not gift baskets, but kit, those starter kit. They give you the rags, they give you the lenses, they give you the kit, like 2 different kit lenses, they'll give you filters, they give you a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm not saying that stuff is not needed, but just to sell you a camera that you may or may not get exactly what you want out of, they will cater a lot to you just to buy a camera. And a lot of that stuff may break the next day you get it. So like I said, this comment is short-sighted, not to offend, was it Gamer 2572? It kind of contradicts my entire message for my video about kit lenses, because my kit lens video was just to get people from thinking out of the compartmentalized box that the manufacturers will put you in when they want you to buy certain things. If I want you to buy prints, I'm going to tell you, oh, this is the best price for prints. My prints are close to the best. This is why my prints are the best. Well, you might go online and be like, oh, well, no, I think that there's some metal prints that cost the same amount and they look better than your print. So not only the fact that it's subjective and it's based off of your opinion, but the manufacturers are going to give you what they want you to hear. Oh, Canon 4K is the best 4K in the world. Well, the Panasonic people might tell you a lot more for cheaper. So, or might give you a lot more for cheaper. So, with all that being said, guys, think about stuff. Do research and think about stuff not only from the perspective of the manufacturer, but your own perspective, considering what you need, your wants and your desires, and your passion for photography. I'm done with CenturyFX Studios, guys. Keep watching my videos. I got a lot more coming your way. You can get better image quality out. Hello?